Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Kind of had some data issues, and I'm going live on my phone. So I'm just going to kind of move things around. That's not what I wanted. More um, now. Okay, I guess we're gonna leave it this way. Okay, and I'm just getting set here. Everything is good. I hope everybody hears me just fine. So we are here to work on our second block for the Moda Blockheads Sew Along. And I got all of these already. Some of the stuff is prepared. I just gotta thread my machine because I had to change colors. So I hope that you guys are having a wonderful Monday. I'm just here going to thread while I get some people coming in. I all right. I gotta get some thread in here. Okay. I think I'm seeing people coming in. We're good. All right. And I am going to change. I'm just prepping, getting all the stuff that we're gonna need to make this cool blog. And I can, oh, there we go. All right, I think I'm all good and set. And so we are going to start on the blog. So I'm just going to unpaint this. I had to do some prepping so that way I didn't take way more of your time. So I left things here. All right, we're prepping. Got my folder with all of the different blocks. Okay, so now we're good. All right, so these group two, block two of the Moda Blockheads. It is this very pretty blog. So it's just consists of 4 units. So you make this is one block, right? And then you're gonna make 4 of them, and that kind of makes up the block. I am making the 12-inch finished block. So when I looked at the things as we review, this is very well thought out. So it has the cutting instructions right here for each side that you want to make. And then it has the swatches right on here below where you can select and put what fabrics you're using for it. So to just kind of give you an idea and kind of work on what you think is best. So I got that done, and that's what I'm working on. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the things that I did. So for my color A, which was this one right here, this beautiful fabric, all right, I had to cut um 8 3-inch squares, and so that's what I did. There I cut 8-inch square, 3-inch squares of this fabric A, and I cut a total of 8. And then for the fabric B, which is the one that we're gonna use the most on the block, I cut 16 8-inch squares. And so is this pretty floral right there? And then I cut 16 3-inch squares of that. And then it tells me that for my background, which I have right here, and that's the background that I was using for the same block, oh, the other block that we did, because I'm using this as my background. I cut 8 3-inch squares, and then it tells me that for my background as well, I cut 2.5-inch squares. So it all depends on what you want. What is, and the reason is because you might want now. So like this is the section that we're constructing, right? So that's the block. And so as you can see, it has a friendship star kind of look. And so you want to see if what you want in the center is bright or not. I chose it to be just the background and the other fabrics to be the colors. But it's all up to you. So what it tells after we cut everything up and we have everything ready. So I have one section already done so I can show you guys how it ends. So that's the one, and that's kind of like how the block looks like. And that's what we're going to work on and make the remaining 3. And what it tells us is that we need to make 16 blocks that are A and B fabric. So 8 with this combination. And so what we're gonna do is that on our 16 squares of the B fabric, we're gonna draw a line corner to corner because we gotta create this. We're gonna create 16 half square triangles with those fabrics. So I'm just gonna draw a line corner to corner, and it looks just like that. And then I'm going to do the same for the other, and the other is gonna have the background fabric with the fabric B. And so that's going to be, so what we're going to do is that we're just gonna sew at 1/4 inch, but it tells us that it's gonna be just a little bit less. So I'm just going to draw the line on both sides so that I just kind of have a guide. And it says that you gotta sew at a scanned 1/4 inch. So that's just what I'm recreating right there. Just a scan. 1/4 inch, and I'm doing it on both sides, and I'm gonna show you. So I'm just drawing here, then I'll show you in a second. So that's what I'm doing. If you want to do this with a fabric marker, that's totally fine. So that way you don't have a chance of that showing up in your in your fabric. So I'm gonna do 2. And so now we're gonna sew these on each side, just like I showed you right there. So we're just gonna, right here, we're just gonna sew on that line that we drew and on the other line that we drew right here, opposite to it. And then we're going to just go and do that. We're just gonna sew that together. Mm. I'm always playing with this stitch length of my machine. Okay, and then we have sewed the two. We sewed the two of them. Get my trash here. All right, and so as you can see, I have sewn on both on either side of those lines right there. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut them in half on that diagonal line I drew. And then I'll cut the other one. Very good. And then what we're gonna do is that we're just going to press those open. Remember that you gotta make 16 of this combination and 16 of that combination, right? And that's the reason why you needed to cut 8. I was busy sewing on Saturday, so I had a bunch of fur everywhere. And I pressed those seams open, as you see there. As I mentioned to you guys, that's just what I've been having love with. And that's what I will continue to do. So I'm just pressing seams open, and then we're going to trim. So now what we gotta do is we're gonna trim those half square triangles into 2.5 inches, sorry. So I am using, as you all know, the Creative Grid rulers. Those are the grade, and they have a 45-degree angle line on the square. And so what I do is that I just lined up that 45-degree angle at the and make sure that I have plenty of to get the 2.5, and I just trimmed one side, two sides. I rotate my square and making sure that I get that, and then trim. And then I got one very even half quilt triangle, and then I'll put it in my pile of the A and B's, and now I gotta make one, and then I'll trim the other A and C. 2.5-inch squares. I rotate my square. I think this is a very simple block to make. Just making sure that your ruler does not shift on you. So you keep that 2.5-inch square, and it will just make your block come together very easy and precise. So remember, the key for quilting is precise cutting and sewing. So if you would like, if you know that you're gonna need 2.5 square inches, and you could cut more if this is just a little bit of extra. It's not a lot, it doesn't waste a lot of fabric. So if you wanna make your squares even a little bit bigger, I would say maybe 3.25 or 3.5, and then just trim all around so that you have enough and it's not as close. You can do that as well. And then after we got all this done, we're gonna put our block together to make 3 of those. So what we do is that we got the 2.5 inch squares that we cut. So then we're gonna just follow the diagram. So then we have one of this. I'm gonna form one, and then I'm gonna move my mat and I'm gonna show you guys. So I got one square in the middle, and then I have a fabric A and B, and then I have a fabric C and B, and make sure that in the diagram it shows you exactly how to put it together. And then we got an A and B, and then we have a B and C goes this way, and then a B and C again, it goes that way, and then we have an A and B that goes this way, a C and B that goes this way, and then an A and a B that goes this way. So I'm gonna lift my cutting mat, and then you're gonna see how you have to do. So you have an B and an A with the diagonal this way, with the A going towards the outside and the B going in the inside. Then you have a B and a C. The C is touching the center of your fabric. Then you have an A and a B. Again, the A is always towards the outside in the diagonal line. Just pay attention to that. And then you have the D in the middle, which is the square. And then you have the C touching the C touching the D, and so on and so forth. So I need to make 3 of these. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to replicate how they go, and I'm going to chain piece all of those. And so I'm just making sure I'm placing them the right way, and I'm not shifting it. And then we have these and these, and then we're gonna place the A's and the B's. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. And so what I've done is that I have stacked all of them together right here. So when I am in my sewing machine, I can just, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this and this together. And then I'm gonna sew that and this, and I'm gonna chain piece that, and I'm gonna do it with the 3 blocks, and then I'm gonna start again, and then I'm going to add this to that one, this to this one, and this to that one, right sides together. So let's get that going. And that way we just chain piece these fairly quickly. Now I'm going to sew these together. We're doing all of this with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Right. Making sure you align. If you need to pin. I find that when there is small pieces, I don't have to pin this much. So I just, it's very small. So I can just hold them with my fingers. And just make sure you're keeping yourself organized. And chain piecing is just easier. Plus it acts like pins. And it saves you thread. So we're just putting together a 9 pad. Then I go with my last little pile. This is a fun block that comes together very easy. Very easy. We are making such a good progress. Last part. I'm just keeping everything nice and good. All right. And then I have all of these already together, so I know that is 3 and 3. So 1, 2, and 3, right? 1, 2, and 3. So what I'm gonna do is that I'll just open. I will just open the next one and add the next one to my little pile, making sure that I'm not twisting everything, that everything looks just like in the diagram. And I'm just putting these together like so and going through it. Just aligning. There we go. And then I open and making sure that I'm keeping, and I'll grab the other from the other pile. And then align. If you need to pin, feel free to do so. My pedal always moves away from me. So now I have that one, and then I'm keeping this one right here. And I'm gonna just cut this one just to kind of show you. So everything stays together, like so. And then we'll just join. So I'm gonna repeat the same with that. And then before we join we join the rows together, I will press, and I like to press open. So I'll press open, but in the meantime, I'm gonna finish the other two rows. Uh-oh. I've noticed that my machines get unthreaded a lot. I don't know why. So I got this one. All right. Now I'm going to just sew down to that. I'll open my second row and I'm going to add the next block to that row. Triple checking with the diagram. That's one of the things that's very fabulous about this block. Is that they do an amazing job creating all of these diagrams. It just makes it so much fun and so easy to just sew together. I'll put a few stitches in, reline up, and then we'll go with the next one. All right. Again, making sure that I'm keeping everything the direction I need it to be. That one is this way, and this one's going this way. Perfect. Once again, I align like this. And then I'll go this way. And just make sure that those corners and you're lining everything up, especially when the half square triangles meet, so that you don't lose your. There we go. And so now we have 3. For some reason, I got a call and it just kind of messed everything up because I'm through my phone. All right, so now I'm just gonna press my seams open. So I'm just pressing my seams open before I join my blocks together. So I'm just pressing it all together. You can also press to one side. So like if you press one row to one side and the other to the opposite side, then they will just nest. But I'm pressing open because I see that these little blocks have a lot of seams that come together and it just gets very bulky very quickly. So if you press your seams open, I know it makes it a little harder to kind of join your pins together, but then that's where you're going to need your pins. So to make sure that um, you're getting those seams to kind of be in the spot that they need to, so that they meet and you don't lose their point. So I'm right here. Hold on. So I'm just pressing my seams open one side, and then I'm gonna turn it the other side and I'll just press them open a little bit with my fingers. I know they have these little rollers that you could get as well, where you can just roll your seams open and then kind of press at the end, so you don't have to be like pausing and pressing. Or you can just set up a small station with a small pressing station, just kind of like I have here. And then we press the last one, and this is just coming together so quickly. And I'm just pressing with my fingers. Depending on how particular you are when you're pressing, you don't have to take as much time as I am taking, but it's a personal preference. You do what's best for you or what works for you. I just found that taking my time and being particular makes my blogs look much neater. When I first started, my blogs weren't very flat. I don't know if it's maybe just the practice and the time makes a difference. I don't know. But I am kind of enjoying this new way. So now I am going to grab my pens. I don't have very fancy pens, so I just got regular pens. You use what you have with you. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to the poke pen method is that you find where you have that point, so you don't want to miss it. So you have that point, and then you just kind of get it right there, and take it out and pin it. So that should have just aligned, but I don't think it aligned as well as I should have expected it. Okay, so just I pin a little bit farther away from where I'm sewing, so I don't have to remove the pin when I'm sewing, and it kind of stays in that position. That's I found that that's kind of what works for me. If I can keep it pinned while I'm sewing through it, that gives me a better result. So I'm just going to pin, and I'm gonna pin the three of them at the same time, so that way I can again chain piece them together, and it's faster. If you need to add more pins, feel free. I find that pinning just at these intersections have been very successful for me. It's kind of like a fun line between being super perfect and enjoying the process. So you find what's the compromise of, okay, I can be this finicky about putting together this blog and still enjoying, or quilting. You gotta find the balance that's right for you. Okay, so now that I have pinned, I'm going to join this part. I don't know why it's doing what it's doing. It looks like I need a leader when sewing. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start a little bit forward and then I'm gonna back stitch. Alright. You were seeing my fabric right there. I don't know why. I guess it's the thickness of it all. Now we're going to do this one. And the next one, make sure your seams are nice and open. That one wasn't. Okay. And so now I have joined those, and I will remove the pins from here, and I'm gonna show you how it looks. So this is what we got here so far. So we're just missing to join the following up. And then we'll use the pins to kind of keep those other ones. You kind of check and make sure that you didn't lose any points. I'm gonna put this close so you can see. That looks pretty good. I didn't lose any points. So making sure everything is nice and neat, and we pin in a way that, oh geez, that the machine doesn't get in the way. We open this up, we check the points. That's pretty good too. Not perfect, but pretty good. Once again, do as much as you enjoy. When it just becomes a chore and it's taking the enjoyment out of quilting, then it says it's okay. I am sure that it will look beautiful once it's quilted and all finished. It's hard to tell all these little blemishes once the full quilt is put together. And especially this quilt that's gonna have a lot of seams, because each block has their own multiple seams because they're rather small quilts blocks. So the next one, make sure you're lining up those seams. And we're getting that final seam for that block. All right. And then we're going to be able to, oops, press those seams open. I'm just removing those pins so that I can open and kind of check those out. Once again, if they're not perfect, but if they bother you, you can undo them. That's pretty good. Let's see, the same with this one. That's also pretty decent. And this one, that's actually very good. Wow, I did pretty good for rushing through those 3 blocks so that we can finish our block in the live. Oh, another thing is because we chain piece, we do have to kind of clip those threads that join, no, that hold those blocks together. So if we press open, those wouldn't matter if you don't press open. But I do press open, so I do have to clip those off. And I didn't bring my best press. I would have loved to bring my best press right now because it gets a little bit thick right here and it's not laying as flat as I would like it, but I'll deal with it. So I'm gonna show you something where I it didn't stay open, so it kind of sew like this. Like if it bothers you, you can unpick and make sure that you sew the seam again. But I'm not gonna worry about it. It's pretty good in the back, and that's how it turned out. The points are pretty decent. So now we're just gonna press the other two. Make sure that you do trim your threads. The same happened on this block too. It's kind of hard to make sure that you're checking all of the seams, that the seams stay open. That's the trick when you are pressing your seams open, that it kind of takes a lot more work to just pay attention that your seams are staying completely open while you're sewing, because you're seeing one side of it but not the other. Challenge, but if you're kind of very particular about it, you can just go and seam read. I'm gonna show you that it happened to me again, and this time in 2 places, right here and right there. If it bothers you, go ahead and fix it. If it doesn't bother you, just move on. Like Jenny Dawn says, whoever looks at the back of your quilt, it is not your friend, my friend. And I would agree with that. The block itself should be impacted enough where the back of it should not even meet. All right. So I got that press. And this is our third one. And our fourth one is here. So now it's our final step to get it all together. Yay, how excited. So it's just a 4 patch. So we're just putting all of this together like a 4 patch. And I'm gonna show you, lift it up. So, oops. There we go. It's gonna come together as a 4 patch. So what that means? That means is that we're joining this and this together, this and that together, and then we press open, and then we're going to join that big seam in the middle. So that's what I'm gonna do. So just, you gotta watch your corner, your points, make sure you don't lose them. And just kind of watch for them. Pin where all the blocks are meeting. And right here. And again, I'm just going to chain piece these. This one is not in a way that I can sew through it. And then I'm just going to sew through that. And there we go. The next one, almost there. There we go. And then I'm gonna press those really quickly. If anybody has a question, just let me know. I'm just pressing these open. Very good. Pressing the other one open too. And then we're gonna join that in the middle. And we have created the block. Wasn't that quick? The biggest thing, and like I guess the hardest part, is creating all of those half square triangles. So that's kind of like what you have right there. And then we're just going to, I'm just kind of triple checking. I lost a little bit of a point right there, but I'm just gonna move on. And it doesn't have to be super perfect. But now this is the hardest part, because now we have a bunch of little squares to meet. So then we're just going to pin all of those and do the best we can to like meet all of those blocks there. And that's when the ball becomes a little bit of an issue. And the reason why I'm doing the reason why I'm pressing open, so I don't have to worry about pressing to one side and having too much bulk on all of it. I'm going to just very good. And we have finished sewing up our entire block. Oh, that's pretty good. And this is our finished product. Isn't that super pretty? So that's the whole vlog number 2. And so next Monday I'll be here showing you vlog number 3 until we create all of our very fun vlogs. So then we got all of that. And that's our block. I'm gonna put it here so you can see it. And this is block number 2. Hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Stay creative and tag me if you make it with this so along. And have a wonderful week. See you next week, Monday.